Hey guys, Addict Cyclist here with an awesome video. We have a Factor Ostro VAM and a Factor One side-by-side comparison. So we're not going to go into depth about how they ride. Today is just going to be an opportunity to kind of talk through some of the tube shapes, some of the differences of their dedicated aero bike, the One, and the new aero all-arounder, the Ostro VAM. So let's just start with the One, since that's the original here. So again, still an amazing machine. Absolutely stunning. This Monster Red is absolutely gorgeous. So we'll start at the front here. So you can see the handlebar depth is definitely deeper than the black ink version on the Ostro. So it definitely still has an aero profile, but again, not as thin and not as deep. So front view versus the Ostro. Very similar profile. Again, just not as deep. What's nice with this headset on the One, and I touched on it in one of my other videos, is that you do not have to cut any steer tubes. Basically, the headset spacers sit on this top section of the fork steerer. Comes with different size depth bolts to accommodate how many spacers you want to use, and a top cap. So really easy to set up out of the box. The Ostro, we had to cut off of maybe about 30 millimeters of the steer tube to get it with the spacers that were supplied in the box. So again, that's one little comparison there. Again, the One also has a slight pitch, and you can see that the fork is definitely raked out more based on the angle, comparing it to the more traditional Ostro. We'll go down to the steer and fork, so you can see how thin this profile is on the One with the fork steer integration here. Very, very aero profile. Nice little bowing here on the fork legs. Does not have the traditional D shape that a lot of the manufacturers have been using these days. It's more of a foil shape, kind of matching the front of the fork, where you see the depth of the Ostro here. It's more in the newer styling, where it's got a D shape, flat edge, camel tail on the back of the fork. When the aero bikes first came out, you know, most of the bikes were designed where the airflow was predominantly designed to go around the fork and attach itself to the down tube, where the Ostro, they created a wide stance fork, and the airflow was more or less designed to go through the fork, hitting this, what they call the energizing channel here underneath, to attach itself to the down tube for a seamless flow of air. The Cannondale System 6 has a very similar feature. Factor calls it a energizing channel, where Cannondale calls it a chine, where you usually see the fork integration into the down tube. So that's a little bit of a difference between the two there. Obviously, the big thing with the One is the use of this twin vane down tube here, where you literally see right through it. It makes a pretty cool howling sound when you're riding. If you had a water bottle cage here, it makes a little bit of a whistling sound. I was riding behind my buddy Freddie in Florida, and I noticed that there was an interesting sound coming from his bike. So hence the water bottle cage here. But you know, I was reading that some of the pro riders, when they first saw this, they were concerned about, you know, excess water coming through on rainy days, and also their water bottle getting dirty. But if you've seen some of the tour rides and some of the classic races and how muddy it can get, I don't think you have to worry too much about your water bottle getting dirty. It's going to get dirty no matter what. But again, this creates a very, very stiff interface with the bottom bracket. You can see here, it's a pretty deep looking bottom bracket, very sleek. Where the Ostro has it's definitely a larger bottom bracket. It goes a little deeper, taller. Obviously, that's where it gets a lot of its rigidity from. This kind of resembles what I've seen on some of the dogmas. But very, very big stiff bottom bracket here. You'll notice a traditional down tube here with a slight indentation to help shield the water bottles and airflow. You'll see the top tube, seat tube interface here has a little deep section here. Very, very similar on the One, a little bit deeper on the One. Again, this is a dedicated aero bike. And you'll see the junction of the seat stays. Very seamless, very, very aero looking. You'll see it from this angle here. Looks awesome. Where the Ostro, again, this was designed with a little bit more comfort in mind. So again, still aero, but not as deep. And the profile is a little different. Again, they're pretty thin seat stays here. Again, D-shaped. Can't really see it in the video, but they are D-shaped to go along with that theme of the camel style profiles. Where the One, again, is a little bit more traditional. Where the foil continues to the back. Again, a little bit of a D shape, but it kind of matches the front of the seat stay. Let's make our way down to the chain stays. Absolutely ginormous, huge, chunky, squared chain stays. And you'll notice the both of these bikes, very chunky. A lot of stiffness, helps with power transfer. Both of these bikes are rocking the Black Ink 60 wheel set. I believe the actual true depth is, I believe, 56 millimeters, but factory chose to call it 60. It's a little bit easier just to remember. And 56 doesn't sound as fancy. This One is set up tubeless with Pirelli tires. And if you've been watching my channel, you'll know that I run latex tubes. Can't deal with the slot mess that have occurred on a few occasions when needing to deal with repairs. We're putting a tube in. Again, a lighter configuration with latex. And I would say it's very similar in terms of suppleness. You have to run a little bit higher air pressures, but the latex tube definitely helps offset those higher pressures with a silky ride. And so no complaints about that. I have featured this Factor One on my channel before, so please go back and review the review video. We'll talk a little bit more about the components. You know, one of the reasons why Factor is becoming more popular is, one, obviously it's direct to consumer. Two, you get a lot of value. Yes, you are working in a higher price range and higher quality tier, so by no means is, I would say, it's cheap to go direct to consumer, but you're getting a lot more value and quality for this price point. You know, these bikes, you know, based on how they're equipped, would typically be anywhere between $12,000 and $14,000 if this was from a regular retail brand. Where obviously we're paying significantly less. Factor has free shipping, covers VAT. They threw in our ceramic speed, oversized pulley wheels, cages. So far the experience has been great working with Factor. Ordered several more items from them. Shipping from Taiwan, factory direct within 3 days through DHL. Customer service is phenomenal. You basically get assigned a specific rep. You have access to their telephone number, their email, their calendar to set up phone calls, schedule phone calls. So they really try to deliver a custom experience to their customer base. And I've just been blown away by how they delivered. Just quick little standover of the top tube. Very similar top tube, but they both have a slight indentation here, which maybe helps with rigidity. You can't see that here so much in the video. Maybe we can see it on the one, but yeah, you can see it here. There's a little bit of a indentation in here. And obviously comparing the seat posts, obviously the depth is noticeable as well. It's a deeper seat tube, does have a camel flat back to it. The Ostro, again, thinner, but very, very similar profile. Both zero offset. I did want to get a close-up of this fork steer. Again, you can see how it's basically like a shield, and it does have another logo behind it, and it does have these stop protectors on the frame to prevent any bumping. Super cool bikes. You know, one of the interviews I watched with Rob Gatellis, he talked about, you know, his passion behind Factor and what differentiates them from other manufacturers, where other manufacturers are concerned with the balance sheet more than they are about delivering value and perfection to the consumer. And this is very evident in these bikes. You know, you're dealing with a company that is passionate, that is basically run by engineers who are cyclists and cyclists that are engineers, and they own their own factory, so they're able to give a heightened quality control, you know, be a little bit more involved in the manufacturing process, because obviously they're providing these bikes in smaller batches compared to the larger brands. So these are just little things that are just kind of unique and feeling, we'll call it boutique, to have something kind of niche that not a lot of people have or have access to, or quite frankly even want to spend the money on. But people have no problem spending $14,000 on an S-Works that is equally equipped, and in my opinion, you know, a lesser quality bike. Not saying it's not a bad bike, but the quality control on the mainstream bikes, big box bikes, are definitely less than what you find on these Factors here. The tolerances, the way things fit, everything just seems perfect and flawless. So hope you enjoyed the video, and you know, please like and subscribe, and I appreciate the views and your time. Thank you. Be well.